You lead, and welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And Katie, the
Ted
Mrs.
will be
PMAC, I guess.
the Mrs. PMAC, Air Mrs. PMAC.
Yeah.
Um, no, what a week! What a start to May already. Ted will be joining us soon. I'm excited to dive into the girls and boys lacrosse scene. It seems like every night there's a big matchup. It seems like every single night there might be multiple storylines every single night. It's going to be tough to get through. It's going to be tough to stay on schedule and on topic. But first, this episode is brought to you by Old Southern Barbecue. They're riding with us all season long, and their big thing that they just dropped today, I saw on Instagram. I got a little tidbit from the big man, a few days ago. They just dropped a new sauce. A new sauce. I'm gonna probably have to get on the old Instagram here once I get my hands on this sauce and do a little review for the people. New sauce, Jimmy's original. This is the sauce of the big man's grandpa. So this sauce, this recipe has been around for generations now. Um, Keep tabs on it. It sounds like it's going to be available online. Use DTA 15 and in the restaurant as well. Yeah, fire me up. We're gonna get our hands on this new sauce very soon. We'll do a review on the Instagram, and yeah, check it out. Get your hands on your own bottle. DTA 15 if you're gonna order online. Old Southern Barbecue, they're riding with us all season long. Katie, what is on your mind off the field quick, or do you want to just dive
We need
into?
to dive in. Ted's here too.
Oh,
We
Ted's
don't
joining
have
us.
time. None of us have time for chit chat today. We're getting this episode in. There's no time for chit chat about our personal lives. Lacrosse is taking over.
Lacrosse
And
has
I
taken over.
and I think you're right. Like if April was kind of the preheat, this is like the main course. May has started off. I mean, we are on May 3rd, and I feel like this week separated the men from the boys and the women from the little girls. I mean, it's just whatever analogy you want to say. I think this week was, what did we say last week or the week before? We had a lot of questions. I think this week was the week of answers.
Are we starting to get answers?
I think so. I
Okay.
think people who raised eyebrows on rankings of any sort, I think don't have a reason to raise eyebrows anymore. I think some teams that people maybe were questioning solidified their spot. I mean, what a week. Diving into last Friday, I think the main event was Stillwater versus Cretin Durham Hall. I don't think anyone questioned Stillwater, but I think everyone, not everyone, Cretin Durham Hall certainly didn't question themselves. Stillwater beating Cretin's 10-7. I think that's a really respectable score. Considering I think Prior Lake, we were like 10-6 or something like that, or I don't know what we scored against or what Stillwater scored against us. Um, Sounds like Razga had a million goals like she does and played really well. I can't even remember last Friday, but I know this week we've had our fair share of some rain. But Friday Night Lights, did the boys Stillwater and Cretin play that night? A little doubleheader,
Could
you
have. Don't
know?
remember. Not. We're not
Yeah,
on the boys.
you're right.
Hey team.
Hey
Hey,
Ted,
Ted's here.
welcome.
Um Sorry I'm late. Um I watched a little bit of this game, this Cretan Stillwater
Yeah.
girl. It was a really competitive game. At least for actually for most of it. I mean, obviously the score is competitive, but I watched the first half and a little bit into the second. Uh it's Jaden Razga, right? Jaden?
Jordan, sorry. That
Jordan.
was her sister. I think I misspoke. I think her sister is long
Jordan
gone.
Jordan
Jordan.
Razga has an absolute cannon of a shot. Uh,
She's what, an eighth grader?
Really impressive. And then there was another gal on Cretan that really impressed me as well. I think she's a senior. Let me look it up quick.
Sophia Watts.
Sophia Watts. Yep. So two players that, my novice knowledge of girls lacrosse, just kind of watching as a fan, really impressed me. I think Stillwater had a little bit more depth and just complete team, but those two players for Cretin are fantastic players.
Awesome. Was it a good game in your opinion?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, close game.
Kind of a game of runs. It was like Stillwater looked like they were going to run away with it. Then Cretin looked like they were going to have the comeback of the century. Then Stillwater scored a bunch in the second half right away to look like they're going to run away with it. And then Cretin came back and made it a game. So definitely a good battle. I could see both of them being relevant at the end of the season here.
Yeah, I love that. They're in the same section, right?
No, they are not.
Oh, well then, maybe we'll see them later this year. Another one on Friday. Quick shout out to my sister-in-law, Holy Angels beating Visitation 7-6. I know they're pretty big rivals, and that's a big game for them, so that's a huge win. And New Prague playing Hermantown Proctor, getting a big win over them. I think they went up there. If Centricity Stadium might be the Hermantown Proctor, so a little road game for New Prague. That's always fun. You know what? We're already turning the page to Saturday because I think Saturday brought probably one of the two storylines that the girls community has really sort of been following, is this Orono team. I know we talked a little bit about Orono on the boys' side from Prior Lake going over there and playing with them, and I believe they've had other notable games. Orono beat Gentry 13-12. I didn't get a chance to watch any of this game. The score certainly seems like it's close. The big scorers, Elleberg, Bellamons, and Sam Hone for Gentry. And then Orono, Riley Teal, Dylan Collins, and Layla Nick, big scores. I wonder what their scores. I could
couple of 2027s. So Orono not going anywhere anytime soon with a couple of young bucks helping take down a top 10 team.
We are talking about Orono. The girls community is talking about Orono. Spoiler, they have another win on Monday that was raising some eyebrows, at least in the Prior Lake community. The girls are paying attention. I think everybody we were sleeping on Orono. I don't think Ted was. Ted, I feel like we've talked about them, but I think in general, the three of us were sleeping on Orono a little bit. That's a huge win over Gentry. We give Gentry a lot of grief on their schedule. This was a well-scheduled game, clearly competitive, back and forth, I assume. So shout out to that game. Hopefully it was fun for everyone and they didn't get wet. We were at our jamboree, of course. And so that was kind of the talk of the afternoon. Later Saturday, Rosemount beating Edina, a section matchup, 15-14. I love these 1-goal games. And it doesn't look like it was an OT or anything. So I love a back and forth. Both of those games seem to be really competitive, at least according to the scores. Which a 1-goal game, in my opinion, is competitive, whether it seems like that on the field. So shout out to Rosemount, shout out to Orono for pulling ahead with that one extra goal.
Other 1-goal games that day: Osseo Park versus St. Paul Academy, and Holy Angels in St. Louis Park. I believe that went to double overtime, triple overtime.
Yeah. Was it triple?
I think it was triple overtime according to sources. Triple overtime according to sources. So Saturday, a bunch of good games.
Yeah. I know in Prior Lake it was our jamboree, super fun day. The girls absolutely love it. Quite honestly, in our program, we did a little Chalk Talk Friday. In our program, the jamboree seems to be like a really big turning point for the whole program, like off the field. On the field for the B team, because we're playing, obviously, in my opinion, that's when I see the most growth. Typically, and this year was a typical year, is when I kind of start looking at some girls that have maybe made my team better and they get their shot at JV. And that was certainly the case this year. It happened a couple years ago. is kind of when we start making some moves. They're super fun games. They're shortened games. We had a record breaking, I think 12 teams there. Shout out to our volunteers and the both JV and varsity girls come and volunteer, and it's just awesome day. The program comes together as a whole, like I said, because the JV and varsity girls are there interacting on the sidelines, doing the timekeeping. It's just such an awesome day. I'm sure I liken it to that East Side battle or whatever that the varsity teams did. It has just a really good vibe to it. And for our program, really brings us together. So I'm hoping that some of the other programs that were attending, shout out to you guys. We loved having you. Southwest Christian, New Prague, Lakeville South, Stillwater had a team there. Eastridge had a team there. Wayzata was Maple Grove was there. We just love having everybody down, seeing some different jerseys, and it's just a really good day, and everyone's hanging out. So we weren't really watching games, attending games. So those scores were rolling in on the interwebs, and the girls were talking about you, Rosemount and Orono. Speaking of Orono, moving the pod along to Monday, Orono beating Jefferson 17-12. So again, it looks like it was the 2027 show a little bit. Riley Teal, 4 goals. Layla Nick, 6 goals. And then 2026's Dylan Collins, 4 goals. Gretchen Fandel Thompson, 3 goals. So shout out to Orono. They're just a goal scoring machine, it looks like. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm trying to look at, there was no stats for Jefferson apparently on Lax Hub. Moving into the northern suburbs, Maple Grove 10, Elk River Zimmerman 9. Looks like it was back and forth, super competitive. Each team having a 2-goal lead at some point. Katie Wozni, 2024 for Elk River Zimmerman with a goal. Lily Osterman, I remember that name too, 2025 with 4 of those goals. Prior Lake played Maple Grove on Wednesday, and Sosie Van Wyck, 2025 with 4 goals in their Elk River game, was definitely someone we had on our notes. Megan Van Curler, 2024 with 2 goals. Let me look up her number real quick because she might have been the other one that we had. Oh, nope, it's the other one noted here. Riley Dunn, 2026 with 2 goals. Number 39. She was probably starred and circled on our I believe she does their draw that we had a scout on. So back and forth game. Shout out to Maple Grove for coming ahead in that game with the win. Elk River Zimmerman coming off a huge win against Eastview Egan. So a fun competitive game for them. And then Champlin Park, in my opinion, rolling over Andover, which I was on the Game Time Media podcast yesterday, and I believe he asked me about Champlin Park. And we've always talked about their social media, and they are not a social media team playing lacrosse. They are a lacrosse team here, scoring tons of goals. Lauren Schindelbeck, Annabelle Johnson, Paige Hagenbart, the usual suspects that are, I believe Champlin Park is undefeated, if I'm not mistaken, aren't they? Does anybody know off the top of their head? Was that on Tuesday, Champlin Park? Oh, that was still Monday. Why couldn't I see them on the schedule on Monday?
Champlin Park is 7-0 right now.
Yeah. So they're always on our radar. And here we are again with just an undefeated season so far. So keep it up. What are they? The Patriots?
The Rebels.
The Rebels. It looks like the Patriots logo, but the Rebels. Keep it up, Rebels. Tuesday, Minnetonka also kind of raising some eyebrows. We are definitely keeping the tabs on Minnetonka this year. I feel like we talked about them 2 weeks ago. Wasn't this? There they are. 15-9 over Wayzata. They play Buffalo next. Let me see what other game. They're also undefeated, 5-0. Their 1-goal overtime win against Elk River Zimmerman last Saturday, and now they brought Wayzata down. Sounds like Wayzata maybe a little bit on the struggle side, but we were really high on them. More to come on the Wayzata school later. Spoiler. Edina beating them later in the weekend. 1, 2, 3. But they're like 3-4. So Minnetonka beat them, Edina beat them, Champlain Park beat them, and Benilde, of course. So hoping Wayzata can maybe turn the pages here a little bit in their May schedule. Moving to Wednesday. Which game should we talk about on Wednesday?
A game that interests me is this Stillwater Park Cottage Grove game. Park Cottage Grove. Stillwater winning 11-5. Pretty dominant win. I feel like Park of Cottage Grove, I think I may have picked them to win Section 3. So struggling to score. I know they're more of a defensive team. Maybe they're the team with the zone defense or whatever we were talking about last week. I don't even remember what we talked about on the podcast.
I don't either. I think we were talking about the zone defense now that you mention it.
It's a pretty dominant win for Stillwater against a Park team that I would consider one of the better teams in the state. So Stillwater is, we talked about it last week. Like they are on the radar. They are not, nobody's sleeping on them, but they just continue to just churn out quality wins. And, I think until South and Benilde, and I mean, we'll talk about the Benilde South game, I'm sure, but, I think just by a product of not being number one in the preseason poll, other teams have to lose to kind of leapfrog the teams that are above you to start. But I would, if somebody said Stillwater's the number one team, I really wouldn't have a huge argument against that, honestly.
On the girls' side.
Girls' side, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
They lost to Prior Lake, but like they've just been like dominating their games. I get it. Like it probably wouldn't be correct in the sense of if you looked at scores and records and wins and losses, but I liked what I saw. What I've seen out of them, honestly.
Fair. I think, and again, we'll kind of get to this probably game and matchup next, but in my eyes right now, Lakeville South is undisputed number one, right?
Sure. No, and that's what I'm saying is like, from a logical perspective, they are. But if someone was like, no, Ted, you're wrong. I watch a lot of girls lacrosse and Stillwater is better and is the best team in the state. I wouldn't, from what I've seen and what I've like looked at in their games, I'm like, yeah, I won't disagree. I couldn't disagree with you or say you're absolutely wrong. But I agree. South has earned their resume is there. They've earned.
I agree. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Stillwater and Lakeville South, knowing what we know now, are the last two teams standing.
Interesting.
I agree with
that. Yeah.
I mean, we beat them, but it was not an easy win.
It
was a hard win. So it's like playing them again on any given day. If Stillwater brings their Super Bowl game, and they're going to be the team that capitalizes on our mistakes, that I kind of agree, Ted. Like if someone's like, no, Stillwater's the best team, like, and really has a heavy argument, like, I mean, they could be the last two teams standing with Lakeville South. I love their goalie game. Both Rio and their backup goalie. I actually she might start, to be honest. And I think she's a freshman. I love how they play. And I remember a couple years ago, their goalie that went to like American or something like that, or like Liberty, or like they have just breeding goalies out there, athletic, like agile, in the play goalies. And in my opinion, it's something the girls' game needs to see more of. Like, it's just, they're fun to watch and they're fun to like shoot on because they sell out and like just have like insane saves. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see their section final matchup, who's going to come out of that section. And that's a really good point, Ted.
Yeah.
Shout out to Stillwater in there.
Yeah, and then I think, kind of alluding to what PMAX said, I think I know the down the alley game of the week and probably the game of the week, the best
I think
game
this was the game of the season.
matchup thus far, the biggest matchup thus far in the season in girls lacrosse was last night. Lakeville South and Benilde, 1 versus 2, Benilde being 1, South being 2. These teams have leapfrogged each other a little bit in the polls just based on public opinion and not, if we finally got to see them play each other. And I was surprised that the score was as one-sided as it was. Maybe you guys were not. I did not see the game. Your thoughts, I guess, if you guys watched it.
I didn't watch it, but as probably similar to you, Ted, like not in the girls' game every day in, day out. I wouldn't have guessed this type of spread. Like if you were like, hey, yeah, Lakeville South won this game or they end up winning. Okay, cool. Like wouldn't surprise me. I could have seen it go either way. But agreed. Like what running time? Is 10 goals running time in girls?
Maybe, I don't know. It's 12 for boys.
Yes, it's 10 and it was before halftime.
Yeah. So in my
no, it was quarter 3.
Quarter 3 run time. I again wasn't on my bingo card for this game.
Yeah. And I will say, I think I texted you guys this last night. Last year, they played in the regular season, and South looked like they were the greatest team in the land, right? And they crushed them, and Benilde had some tricks up their sleeve once they got into the playoffs. So, are they, did they just go into this just saying, "Hey, we're going to play straight up"? Is South really that much better? Did Benilde have an off night? I guess those are some questions. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw these two teams play each other again.
Agreed.
Shout out to Cougars Live. I was watching, and the best comment of the night was, it was the least windy day of the season. It was the most optimal weather conditions yesterday. So nobody has that to go against them of like, oh, it's the wind. It was the rain. Nope, we don't get to say that last night. You couldn't have played better. I mean, I was like, we could practice for 4 hours tonight because it's not windy. I was very surprised at this score. I turned it on in Q2. I think towards the end, I think I watched quarter 2 and quarter 3, and then I went on to other things. It was domination. And I was really high on Benilde leaving practice. I was like, I think Benilde's going to win. We heard the 5-0 score. I think they were taking a timeout right when I turned it on. I thought it was going to be, I thought for sure, I think the score prediction, I'm not just saying this, I think I was actually off the record on Game Time Media, but we did talk about it. I think my score prediction was 16-15 Benilde. So the scoring, I agree, Ted, maybe they were holding some things back. Surprised that Benilde didn't win. Surprised, I was really high on them. I also am not surprised that Lakeville South was so dominant, I guess. Confirmed when I was watching them that Lakeville South is just an absolute powerhouse, and they're very hard. I mean, like, you have to do all the things. You have to scout them. You have to execute the scout. You have to execute stick work. and the mistakes that you make, you can't like be poo-poo about it, because they will capitalize on everything, and they are the definition of like hit the ground running, and they don't take their foot off the brake or off the gas, and they make it look so easy. I'm not gonna lie. Like, they make it look so easy, and it's just something I noticed on the sideline is that they're very communicative to each other. And I think it's just, this is a piece of, they've got some sort of sixth sense with each other off the field and on the field, and it comes across with how they play. So, you know what? Shout out to them. It is no question that they are checking off the boxes. You know, a good spread of goals from them too. And I think that's what makes them really hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean,
there's just really nothing else to say.
yeah, there's definitely going to be some shakeup, I think, in the rankings and the public opinion, whatever you want to say, but definitely might set the stage for rematches later in the season. Looking just in the essence of time here, I know that all of us are on a little bit of a time crunch and we want to get this out. On the girls' side, is there one game next week that you guys are looking forward to or you're interested in? I can start because I was kind of writing some down as we go, but I don't know if you guys have any immediate thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead and start. I haven't even looked ahead to next week.
There's a lot of kind of interconference and conference and section matchups, you know, between some of the perennial teams. But an interesting game for me on Tuesday is Andover and Blake. I think two teams that have like been really good at points, have maybe had a little dip in where they are currently, but have also had some nice wins this year. Just it's a matchup that doesn't, maybe they play each other every year, I don't know, but like it's not like a common matchup. It's an out of conference, out of section matchup between sort of a northern suburb and a city intermetro team that you know have both had good teams over the last, you know, eight-ish years. So I'll just that's just an interesting game of two teams that don't really play each other a lot.
I'll continue. Go ahead.
To stay on the theme of like conference battles, St. Croix Prep, my hedge fund, versus Holy Angels, my sister's program. They're duking it out. They're both undefeated in conference play so far. They play each other next Thursday. I'm sure this is going to be a fiery one. I don't know who to root for. I'm not sure who to root for this game. I got my hedge fund where all my money is, and I got family. And I don't know which one to pick. Katie, who do you got?
I'm going back to Tuesday, Ted's birthday. He failed to mention that, and Luke Lato's birthday. So on Ted's birthday, inter-conference and section matchup, EP Minnetonka. I mean, Taylor's oldest time in EP and Minnetonka game. EP, did they just lose to Maple Grove by 1 goal? Or did they beat them by 1 goal? They beat them by 1 goal, and Minnetonka is undefeated. I think that's going to be a really interesting score. I'm not going to make any predictions because I look clueless when I do that. Last night. But I think that's going to be a really interesting game, more so for Minnetonka. Shout out to Southwest Christian, who's going to play Minnetonka the last game of the season. Southwest Christian undefeated, Minnetonka undefeated. So that's actually for me something that I'm going to kind of look to more as like a gauge for Minnetonka. Shout out Coach Chandler and Coach Anna. We play them as our last game of the season, but I think nobody underestimates Eden Prairie, especially end of season section Eden Prairie. So I think this game for me is going to be like a more of a Minnetonka test than anything else.
Yeah, those are all matchups.
What a week. What a week on the girls' side. What a week coming up. A few great matchups to tune into. Those are 3 of, there's, you know, tens of games. There's probably 100 games coming up here in the next week on the girls' side. So
it's a busy week.
Another busy week. We're in the middle of May. And without further ado, over to the boys' side. Another week of 1-goal games, overtimes, big matchups. Shout out to us for picking a 1-goal game of the week. That makes us look good. I don't know where to start. I guess last Friday, for me, because people in the Discord are asking for more me talking about myself, not myself, but the program involved in. We logged
They
some
are?
miles. We logged some miles. We went up to Centennial. Shout out Coach Beach. Shout out Coach Beach bringing me some barbecue pregame. This was a dirty trick that Coach Beach tried to play on me. And I called him out for it. He tried to bring me a bunch of barbecue before the game, put me in a food coma, not be in the right space of, headspace to coach a game. Didn't work. Didn't work. The boys came out victorious. It was a fun one against Centennial. It's always fun to play kind of a team from a different area of the state, logging some miles on the school bus going up there. Shout out to them having us. Ted, any other games on Friday that you were looking at or watching?
No, I think it was kind of as expected on Friday. So yeah, that I think nothing crazy. Fireworks started a little bit later in the week, but this was this was kind of a normal day for me.
On to Saturday. Like Katie mentioned, I was actually watching some girls lacrosse. I was at their big play day. Supporting the wife, after not seeing her for probably a whole week, being on separate fields. So I went and watched some girls lacrosse. But on the boys' side, not the biggest slate of games in kind of amount. But this Southwest Christian Waconia game, 1-goal game. What other scores kind of pop out to you?
Um, yeah, the Lakeville North Maple Grove matchup was a big one. Lakeville North in dominant fashion, 14-7. I think they've been hearing the noise, and I think maybe getting pushed down the polls a little bit, maybe unfairly. I don't know. I mean, they've had a pretty tough schedule. Like they've played some big dogs the whole way through. I don't think they've
Yeah.
had a game yet. So I thought Maple Grove would be a little more competitive in that game, but overall, I thought, North kind of as expected, high powered offense. The Chan Matamita game at
That's what I was gonna say.
game. Uh, I think both of these teams are kind of unknown for me. Like at times they look great, at times they don't. But my article's not out yet on Prep Lacrosse, but I did shout this out. The Matamidi face-off guy went 20 of 21 at the X, 95%.
Always.
Wait, Matamidi has a good FOGO? They
Always the
never
face-off.
have a good
Always.
FOGO.
Face-off farm. They are a face-off farm.
Sam Churchill, 95.2% at the X and an overtime win. Unfortunately for the is it didn't help their team win the game. The Storm prevailed 9-8 in overtime despite losing every single faceoff basically. But pretty big performance for the Matamidi faceoff guy. So that was just a notable game, I guess, or notable stat from a game.
One matchup also that was gaining some traction in the Discord with DTA Nation, Hudson versus Blaine. It was a 2-goal game. I heard it was back and forth. Blaine was a team I shouted out last episode too. Really good goalie. Another team, Hudson, coming over to the Minnesota side and playing another Minnesota team. So that's cool to see. On to Monday. Do fireworks start happening yet on this glorious day? Or was it?
I think it's Tuesday.
Tuesday is when the fireworks started.
I think the music, the band at the band shell started playing on Monday, so people were starting to filter in for fireworks.
Okay.
I don't even know because this is like the opposite of fireworks, but it's noise that was being made.
Sure.
Epperson, your number one former number one probably at this point, but we'll talk about that later. But current number one team, Bloomington Jefferson, a 5-2 win over Orono. So a very low scoring affair in that game. Orono putting the clamps down on the Jefferson offense, but also the Jefferson defense holding Orono to 2. It was not surprising that Jefferson won, but when it was 1-1 at halftime in a high school varsity game, I was kind of like, whoa, like that the noise was starting to be made. The band was starting to play. And then Woodbury.
One thing on that game, I did watch this game, not live, but as we played Jefferson this week, it was a game I watched, took notes on. Obviously, this is a game that DTA Nation calls a defensive battle. It was two very good goalies going at it, two very good defenses going at it. Very, very structured game. However, the first half, it was kind of a weird half. A lot of calls, lot of flags, ups, downs, which sometimes you'd think, maybe that would lead to more goals. In this game, it didn't. It was just kind of a weird half, which led to a weird 1-1 score. But two very legitimate goalies and defenses going at it in this one.
That's interesting note. I didn't see the game, so a true defensive battle in this game. And then Woodbury St. Thomas Academy on Monday, kind of a section, game with section implications. Woodbury has dropped a couple games. And I know they were kind of starting in the top 10 and maybe have gotten out. STA has had ups and downs this year with some interesting scores, and Woodbury getting back on track 12-9. I'm not surprised by that. It's more of just a shout out to Woodbury for like kind of a nice rebound win after some losses. They looked pretty good, physical game. And so nice win for the Royals, from a section seating perspective, that will certainly help them come June.
On to Tuesday, I think the music gets a little bit louder on Tuesday. A couple games to note before, I don't know, maybe the game of the night. Lakeville South beating Eastview Apple Valley. Lakeville South putting together a nice season, much better than last year. They're a year older, etc. Shakopee, Buffalo's kind of been an up and down team this year. I think that's another team on the list of I'm unsure of. Shakopee beating Buffalo. That's a nice win for Shakopee.
Correct. I agree. Yep. Buffalo's been, like you said, they've been staying with some really good teams, winning some big games, and Shakopee, started the season maybe kind of not the way they expected, but rattling off a couple wins this week. So they're slowly getting back on track.
Eden Prairie, they got stuck in a trap game situation. Shout out to Hopkins for pulling it off. Big upset, massive win for Hopkins St. Louis Park. I think there's a stud player that you'd like to shout out. I've heard you've been talking about him for about the last year now.
Yeah, Malachi Berry, senior LSM. I think he plays mostly LSM, but he probably plays close for them too. Honestly, he could be an O-Midi to be with a pole. Like, he's the most athletic player I've seen in a long time. And headed to Detroit, PMAC, for to be a future Titan. So go.
What up? What up? If you're watching on the YouTube wearing the shooter shirt, let's go Detroit.
He played a little bit of Titan with us last summer. I don't know him super well, but super nice kid, elite athlete, great lacrosse player. So I'm sure he had a hand in that game. That's a huge win for Hopkins St. Louis Park. I mean, they have just been getting destroyed in the Lake Conference for the last few years, and to go and beat Eden Prairie, that's just a fantastic win for them. Whether EP was looking ahead or injured, I don't know what the excuses are. Huge win for Hopkins St. Louis Park. However, there has been a call out in the Minnesota lacrosse community about the Hopkins coaching staff not inputting stats into LaxHub. They just completely don't want to do it. It's a waste of their time, according to rumors. I don't know the real reason. I don't know the staff. But if you want Malachi to get some recognition that he rightfully deserves in the state of Minnesota, you need to have your stats in Lax Hub. They are overdue. So I don't know if Hopkins listens to this podcast. I don't know if somebody that knows the Hopkins coach listens to this podcast. Get a student or a parent to put the stats into Lax Hub so that the kids on your team can get some recognition on a fantastic season that they're having.
Tonka back on track with the win over Wayzata. Wayzata is a team sources have been pumping. We'll get to Wayzata, I'm sure, later in the week. And then Farmington maybe in the game of the night, the win of the night, Farmington over the Cats of Eagan. A couple of cats kind of going at it. We got a cat fight. Nice win against Eagan. How was that one?
We talked about it. I wasn't surprised. But I was kind of surprised.
Anybody who's a coach in Minnesota boys lacrosse and has had to play Eagan and game plan for Eagan and watch Eagan film knows how many years off your life that it takes when you have to game plan for Eagan. The fun and gun, the cardiac cats, the unstructured running gun transition. They have schemes, but they don't really have schemes. Every game is different. A lot of high-end talent on that team. I was pulling my hair out trying to figure out, like, what do we do here? And, I think at the end of the day in this game, our guys just stepped up and made the plays they needed to make. We scored the first goal with like 30 seconds into the game. I'm like, all right, that's the start we wanted. And then about a minute later, we were down 3-1. So classic Eagan. I was like, we're going to lose this game by 30. And then we tie it up. And then we held them to 1 goal the rest of the way. So elite defensive performance by our guys, best of the year. But Eagan, they're not going away. They're just a tough team to play against. And I think we got them on the right night. And we played in torrential downpour. So weather, the great equalizer, right? So it was pouring rain, makes it fun, but I was soaked, and fun win for our guys. But yeah, I think I wouldn't read too much into that on the Eagan side. I think they're going to be ready to go in their next game.
On to hump day, Prior Lake starting their back-to-back, squeaks out a win against Eden Prairie 8-6. Eden Prairie made a late surge, made the game real close. And I know our sideline was sweating it out there at the end. Eden Prairie, I know they dropped a couple this week, but that's another team. Don't sleep on. They got some ballers. They're going to look much differently come playoff time than maybe they did this week. So shout out Eden Prairie. They're well coached, well organized, and they got a couple of ballers on that team. So watch out for them as the season continues. Cloquet, they continue their unbeaten run here with a nice win over Grand Rapids. Any other games that grab your attention?
Yeah, Eastridge Irondale. Eastridge 12, Irondale 8. Not surprised that Eastridge won that game, but Irondale's been keeping a lot of games close with good teams. So they might be a team that's trending in the right direction. I don't know if they're a year away, if they're a team to look out for in sections. But they have some nice players, and I don't know, holding Eastridge to 12. It's not like a elite defensive performance, but Eastridge has been scoring a lot of goals on teams. So nice, I guess, nice game for them. But again, a nice quality win for Eastridge. They continue to get the job done.
Chanhassen
For me,
with a nice.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
Thomas
I stole
Academy. That's okay. Chan and St. Thomas Academy. I guess I'm kind of sleeping on Chan for some reason, that I thought, or maybe I'm just really high on STA. JP would love it. But to me, I'm kind of like, that seemed like a close game. Chan came by after they beat Mott in the 1 goal. So they're kind of having a nice little week here.
Yeah. Outside of the first quarter, it was a fairly competitive game the rest of the way.
Nice.
On to Thursday. If the music wasn't loud enough, I think this is when the fireworks were set. A bunch of 1-goal games. We got overtimes. We got big matchups. We've got section rivals. We've got conference matchups. We had a little bit of everything. Just kind of going in the order of Lax Hub and the scores. The first one I'm seeing here, Edina, Wayzata. Sources say, Wayzata came out. They won faceoffs. They made it difficult on Edina. Clearly very evenly matched up as one goal game here. Edina is Edina. I think we've all had our attention on Edina. Wayzata, like I've heard the murmurs kind of all season long. For me, this is Wayzata's, maybe first statement win here of the season, to solidify themselves somewhere in the conversation. I'm not sure where. Massive win for Wayzata. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. Rumors of a 10-man ride sighting, maybe.
I love that. I didn't hear about that.
Oh, that's interesting. Their defense is exceptional. Great goalie, some really good pulls. And finally their offense stepped up here against, a really quality team, and got 10 for them. Yeah, it's a huge win for Wayzata, kind of like a one to put on the resume. I think where everybody's kind of waiting for that. I think.
I was sleeping on Wayzata. I was like, they have a boys team and they've only lost like one game. So that's how clueless I am.
They're having a great season. That definitely
they are. I mean, their losses to like Minnetonka too, like totally fine.
Yeah. Lake conference is wild. Everybody's beating everybody. So I'm not even sure how that's going to shake out. PMAC, Prior Lake, Bloomington Jefferson.
Game of the week, DTA.
Everyone
game of
wants
the week.
to hear from you.
Apparently everybody wants to hear from me and my my opinions and everything. I don't know. Apparently I haven't been talking enough, according to the people, or at least a person in the Discord. So I'm not sure what they're looking for more than what I've been giving. So my effort is going to go up here. What would you like, Ted?
Like the full scout. I'd love the playbook, the future plays that you're going to run, the defensive systems.
Do you want me to just send out the PDF, put it on Twitter for everybody so you can download it? It's not that sexy.
We'll lose all of our listeners. We're going to lose all of our listeners if that's the direction it goes.
Anyways, quick recap. I know you got to head out here in a sec, but quick recap of the game and what your thoughts were.
Yeah, no. You could call it another defensive battle. Jefferson had one earlier this week. We anticipated them wanting to kind of slow things down, have long possessions. We knew their goalie play was going to be elite. It was. If you look at our shooting percentage according to Huddle, not great. That just kind of came through. So the goalie play on the Jefferson side of things, elite. Not messing around. We had a great face-off battle, number 5 for them. Absolute stud. This is not breaking news. We've talked about this kid on the podcast before. Is he like a junior? But I feel like he's been playing for what is he? He's a sophomore, and I feel like this is his 3rd season at varsity already. So this kid's their face-off guy's a stud, their goalie's a stud, and then obviously they got weapons on offense, and they got a couple of mutants on pole too. So this was a fun game. Obviously after the phone's been blowing up, but what kind of the recap. This was 2 very well organized teams that both brought it. Like both teams had really good nights. Both goalies had really good nights. I don't know. It was a fun one. The most fun, regular season game that we've had this season so far. It was kind of 2 teams playing a lot of chess against each other and, making it difficult for the other, so as a defensive guy, making it hard for their offense. Obviously that was fun to see, obviously super proud of my defense, but, I think both offenses were a little frustrated, throughout the game. And, obviously 1 goal game, this one could have gone either way. It was small, little details, little breakdowns that led to goals, right? Everything had to go, really well for the other team's offense to score. So, the energy was great. The boys were vibing and, I don't know. It was one for the Bucks.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, big win for the Lakers in their biggest game thus far. Down goes number one for the second week in a row. But that was followed up by another huge matchup between Lakeville North and Benilde St. Margaret's. 2 weeks ago, this was like the ultimate matchup on paper, but now it was kind of like, oh, wait,
Yeah.
teams had some ups, some downs. Kind of a weird game. I watched this on the stream. Nobody could really establish anything. I'll give credit to North. They competed. They brought physical play. I think they were just making life a little bit harder on the Red Knights than they wanted it to be. But in the end, they gave the ball to number 6. The Red Knights gave the ball to number 6. West Point commit or signee at this point. Gus Bell put the ball in their best player's stick. He took it to the rack and scored in overtime. And also Benilde got a stop in overtime because they lost the faceoff, of course. Everybody loses the faceoff to Quinn. And they were able to get a stop, get on offense, give the ball to their best player, go in and score. So Red Knights prevail. This said a lot more about North to me. I didn't know where they stood, but I think they're the real deal still. And, they can play anybody hard and they will give you 48 minutes of complete effort, a lot of pride in that program. So, great performance by both teams.
Yeah. Shout out to these two teams putting on an absolute show. These are two teams that they could go the distance, hopefully, for you as a coach, you have something to say about that, come in a few weeks. But as a pundit, these are two teams that definitely could see each other late in this season. And not to cut myself out short, but I do have to dip here. My game of the week that I'm having my eyes on is actually tonight. Shout out Cloquet for coming down to the cities. They're playing in Burnsville, minutes away from my house. They're playing against the Burnsville Kennedy Blazing Eagles, I believe is what they're calling themselves this season. I will get down the alley. We'll be out there. I'm gonna make an appearance. Might be a few minutes late. Excited to see the Jacks undefeated in action. Super pumped. Obviously, I was one of the people to call them out preseason, top 4 in their section. I'm hoping they go the distance this year, and I can't wait to see them live for the first time. So I will be out there with one of our content people. They plan to come out there. So we're going to be checking out the Jacks of Cloquet and their partner schools. Here we go. That's all I got. I got to sign out. We'll see everybody next week. Can't wait to see what the actual game of the week, or if there is another game of the week that the people of higher powers decide. Rankings are going to be nuts, as they have been every week. I don't even know who to vote for. Can't wait to see how those come out. I gotta go. Adios, folks. Down the alley, eat Old Southern barbecue this week. They're the best. Adios.
There you have it. Burnsville versus Cloquet Esco Carlton tonight. Looking ahead, Katie, if you want to look around and see what your games of the week are.
I got one.
What is yours?
Mine is on your birthday, May 7th, on Tuesday, Chan Jefferson.
There you go.
I think I'm going to stick with that. I was going to go, the double whammy with the Minnetonka EP. They have a double header that night, apparently, with the girls. But I think Chan has been pulling together some of these nice little wins. So I think that's going to be a really interesting game. It's either going to be close or it's not, is what I got to say. I think it's going to be more telling about Chan than Jefferson. Obviously, we know Jefferson's really dominant right now. Chan's had a couple nice wins here this week, so I think that's going to be an interesting one for me to keep an eye on.
Yeah, a couple other games. I think that game, I think if Jefferson wins that, I think they win the Metro West. I don't. There's other games to be. I'm sure there's other games to be played. I would expect them to be favored. It typically has been kind of a battle between Jefferson, Chan, and Benilde the last few years.
Right.
Beat Benilde, but Chan having a nice season could start to mess with the tiebreakers there. So big Metro West battle. I like that game. Monday on the 6th, Stillwater, the Ponies, a team that has said, "Hey, put us at number 1. We're 7-0. We've been dominating." They're going to have their chance against Benilde St. Margaret Red Knights. Really big matchup here. You know, a couple of red and white teams that
Yeah,
a lot of red is going to be
a
there.
lot of red.
This will be a game that I hope is streamed. I'm not driving to Stillwater to watch it, but two extremely exceptional teams, a lot of kids that know each other well, that play club lacrosse with each other, that, you know, are high-end talent in the state. This will be a very competitive game from at least a like well, maybe not score wise. I don't know what's going to happen in the score, but it will be a spirited game between two very proud, very strong programs that have met in state a few times, that have played each other in the regular season. So that's one game of the night or game of the week, I think, of more of the Metro teams. But my game of the week, something that came some drama, not I won't say drama, just some interesting energy. We did some power rankings, and Hermantown Proctor, your 6-0 Hermantown Proctor Stealth was a team that I said, hey, they're entering the chat. They're a team to watch. You know, they've had some big wins. They've scored a lot of goals. Sure, you can maybe talk about their schedule. They play the teams that are near them. They're not going to drive down here and play teams, you
On
know,
a school night.
right. So they've won the games on the schedule that they have. You could argue strength of schedule. We have argued that with teams before, but they got Moorhead tonight, so that will be interesting. An interesting game for them. But you know, I was like, hey, let's put Proctor Hermantown. They deserve a little recognition on the power rankings. Well, I think there's some players or coaches or fans or something in the Duluth area that are not happy about Proctor Hermantown maybe having a squad this year. Maybe there's a little bit of jealousy of another team emerging from the area. I've been high on Duluth too, so I don't know where this came from, but man, they were not happy about that. It just so happens that on Thursday night, they play each other.
Perfect.
So, a game that we probably would have skipped over, and if this was calculated by them to get us to get this on the map, that's brilliant by those players. So shout out to you guys. I am coining it Havoc in the Harbor, up in Duluth, Proctor Hermantown, Hairman
I think
Town.
is it at Duluth or Hermantown?
It's in Hermantown, but
okay, Hairmantown.
It's in Hairmantown. Hustle in the Twin Ports, Havoc in the Harbor, Duluth, East/Denfield Co-op. Marshall has their own team now versus
Get grandmas to sponsor it.
Town Proctor, sponsored by Grandma's Sports Garden. Rest in peace. This game just became super interesting to me. I think I know that Hermantown and Duluth East specifically have a very big hockey rivalry. I would guess that it's probably every sport, you know, two pretty good athletic programs. And I love that it's going into lacrosse now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really don't know much about either team and how good they actually are. I haven't seen either team play on film, so I can't tell you. But both teams have been winning games. I think Duluth is 5-1. Proctor Hermantown is 6-0. We'll see after tonight if they'll continue to be undefeated against a good Moorhead team. And then Duluth, I think, comes down this weekend as well. Or no, Hill Murray's going up to Duluth this week. So that's a nice game, a test for them. So that's going to be my game of the week. Duluth versus Hermantown Proctor. Two teams that don't get a lot of attention in kind of the Lax Hub Metro vibe, right? And yeah, I'm really, I wonder if this will be streamed, if they have a stream. If
Yeah, that'd be fun to watch.
please let us know. We'll post it and get more people to watch. Um, if you're in the area or want to go up to Duluth on a Thursday night in May, go to the game, fill the stands for the boys. It would be a really fun matchup. So I think that's my game of the week as
I
far as
like
just,
it.
yeah, the energy and the vibe.
I like it a lot. I think it's going to be another fun week. Another, if you want to get on the map, uh, comment on the Instagrams because apparently that's all it takes. It's all it takes. It's just a scroll through Instagram and hit up a little comment, and you're on the map.
Win a couple big games, open our eyes. We can only watch so much, and yeah, so a huge week this week of games. I'm sure they're just going to get bigger as we get into May. Now a lot of conference games are being settled, and conferences are being won and lost and tie broken and all these things. So definitely a great time to be a fan. Um, I know I missed the beginning. I don't know if what you said about Old Southern Barbecue, but thank you to them as always being our sponsor. They have a new sauce out.
Yeah, we talked about it.
It's original. It is barbecue month. May is barbecue month.
Wow,
So
yeah.
it's definitely, this is your time to try it if you're going out there. I actually went there yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Uh,
What'd you get? A bowl?
Annie was like, barbecue sounds good. We have some errands to run for Sammy's first communion coming up
Yep.
this week.
Shout out, Sammy.
Yeah, let's go to Old Southern Barbecue. And I knew that, the new sauce was coming, right? There was a little bit of marketing that was
Yeah,
sent
did you
over.
get it?
They had it they had it in there, like to try, like on the table.
Wow.
I really liked it.
Because PMAX said he's going to do a review.
Yeah, I would love to hear his review. I don't know so this, I don't want this to come across as being like a bad thing. It has the flavor profile of like an Arby's sauce. If you remember Arby's sauce.
Ooh, I love Arby's sauce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's like, it's not like a sweet, thick barbecue. It's like a thinner, more
I
vinegary.
love thin. See, I love that.
So like it didn't even feel like much of a barbecue sauce as much as it was just like some type of other sauce. I don't know. I
Yeah.
really liked it. I'm definitely gonna buy a couple of them when they go on
Okay.
sale. I'm
Yeah.
gonna use TA15 code, get myself 15% off. I got a pulled pork sandwich and fries, just went more of the lunch route.
Yeah.
And it was super good on
What,
it.
Annie get a bowl?
Yep. She gets the soul bowl, which is like chicken and mashed potatoes and corn and
Yum.
beans and all coleslaw all mashed
That
in there.
sounds so good right now. I'm so hungry right now.
So, Old Southern Barbecue, definitely want to check out their new sauce. They also have some other promotions going on social media, so make sure to follow them. It sounds like maybe some families have decided on Old Southern Barbecue for their grad party.
Yes. Yep. We've heard that. Great choice.
It's that time of year. It's the weather's getting nicer, I think. Maybe
Yep.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's going to be, but hit them up for grad parties. They do a great job catering. We've talked about that. But definitely try the new sauce. It was available at the Shakopee location. My assumption is at all their locations you can try it before it goes on sale officially. And yeah, super, super good.
Love it. I love it.
Another week down.
I think that's a wrap. Yeah. That's a wrap on this week. Another week down. Some upsets, if you want to call them upsets, or just good games. I think they're just good games. Comment, subscribe to us, send it to your friends, send it to your teammates, tell us how clueless we are, and we'll get going with the games. They don't stop tonight, tomorrow, and then another week.
Talk to you later.